Hello, I'm Martin. Welcome to a special Newsround all about the impact of climate change. The Earth is getting hotter and that's causing real problems. As ice sheets melt, higher sea levels and more extreme weather patterns are already having a devastating impact. Fiji in the South Pacific has seen villages abandoned, buildings destroyed, habitats damaged and land lost to the waves. In February, I went to meet people who live there to find out what they are doing about the climate crisis. Welcome to Fiji, a country in the Pacific Ocean. Now, this place might look like a tropical paradise, but islands in the Pacific are under serious threat from climate change.
This is Fiji. It's nearly 3,000 miles away from Australia. It's a series of islands where around 900,000 people live. At a time when kids all over the world are calling for action on climate change, young people in Fiji know they're on climate change's front line.
Fiji produces less than 1% of the global CO2 emissions, but climate change is having a big impact here.
The country is experiencing more storms, rising and warming seas, and damage to its coral reefs. With time running out, young people are doing all they can to stop the damage being done to their country.
Climate change is true.
We cannot ignore climate change because it's happening right under our noses.
My generation and I are cleaning up the mess that we did not create.
Some islands are already disappearing under the rising seawater, and people have had to leave their homes to escape the higher tides.
If sea levels continue to rise as expected, large parts of Fiji may become unlivable. These abandoned houses were once home to the people of Vunadogaloa. In 2014, it became the first ever village in Fiji to be abandoned because of the effects of climate change. The people moved to higher land 2 kilometres away. I'm meeting Silosi, the head man of Vunadogaloa village.
The main reason for relocation was mostly on the impacts of climate change. Sea level rise, erosion and flooding.
Can we just go back to 2014 when the whole village became destroyed?
Water used to come easily into the village up to our east.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to swim around our houses. Some of my grandparents, they were born where it's almost 10 meters in the sea now.
Your grandparents were born and now it's 10 metres beneath the sea.
Yeah.
Later that day, Silosi took me to the new village site, 2 kilometres inland. I wanted to chat with some kids from the village after school.
Hola, how are you? Fine. How was school? Can you tell me about your new village and what you think about it?
Good house. We have a solar.
Solar power?
Yeah.
So does that mean that you have lights and other things? Do you feel happier here compared to the...
Yes.
Why do you feel happier?
From the sea.
You're away from the sea?
Water coming inside the village. All crops and animals were destroyed. And houses.
Sadly, this isn't the only village that's been affected. More than 80 others will have to relocate. It's not just the Fijian people that are being impacted by the changing seas. Fiji's coral reef is also at risk. Corals are a group of living animals related to sea anemones and jellyfish. They build hard skeletons and grow on the ocean floor. Fiji is home to the biggest coral reef in the South Pacific, but warming seas have previously caused devastating coral bleaching, which has a huge impact on the wildlife and people who live there. I'm on my way to meet Victor Benito, a coral reef expert, to find out what he's been doing to help the reef.
What's happening here is around the world we've been burning up fossil fuels and releasing greenhouse gases into the air. It's causing a change in both the chemistry of the ocean as well as the temperature of our ocean. And the rate of change that's happening on the reef is faster than many of the corals are adapting to. Unless we address the underlying problem, that's causing climate change, we're not going to really stand much of a chance of saving our coral reefs.
In 2014, 2015 and 2016, Fiji experienced severe coral bleaching caused by the El Niño event, which is a climate cycle that causes sea temperatures to increase in certain parts of the world.
We had thousands of fish washing up on the beach dead with these fish kills. In the end, we basically lost somewhere between a third to half of the corals on the inside of our reef area here.
There is hope because you're actually working on helping the reef regenerate as well. Can you just explain a little bit more about that?
So what we've been doing is taking small little fragments of coral, and then we've been finding corals that are most tolerant to heat stress. And then we come and we break these small branches like this, and we either grow them out on ropes or other things. And they spend a few months in the nursery, and then later we can transplant these corals back onto the reef. We've seen actually that subsequently new bleaching events that come up, we can tell where the corals that we put down, because these corals are not bleaching, so that's a good sign. But we've really increased the coral cover back into these areas that we've been planting. We're trying to do the best we can locally, but we really need global action to address this, and we're hoping that that's going to start happening soon.
Fiji has also been battered by more intense storms, thought to be yet another consequence of climate change. In 2016, a devastating cyclone hit Fiji. It was named Winston and was the most intense tropical cyclone in the southern hemisphere on record. Entire villages were damaged or totally destroyed. 44 people died. I'm on my way to meet Timothy, who was 11 years old when Cyclone Winston hit.
When we came out from our houses, we saw the destruction or the devastation of Cyclone Winston. We were so sad and we were so worried.
So this is the school grounds now, so all of these buildings are part of the school?
The contractors to building the school building
that
was affected by Cyclone Winston. Our dining hall was also affected by the cyclone.
What is your hopes for the future, Timothy?
I hope that the future will be a better and a secure place to live. We are the ones who will be one day the future leaders, and also we need to take actions. Don't be afraid. We need to raise our voices.
Well, world leaders are still talking about what to do. Young people all over the world are taking action, and Fiji is no exception. Anne-Mary, how are you? How's it going? Nice to meet you, I'm Martin.
I'm meeting 16-year-old Anne-Mary. Since 2018, she's been tackling pollution and climate change in Fiji.
Do you think that the world pays enough attention to Fiji when it comes to climate change?
I say no, because in Fiji and in the Pacific, when you talk about youths, they look at 18 above, but they don't really look at us 18 below. My generation and I are cleaning up the mess that we did not create.
The next day, Anne-Mary invited me along to a mangrove planting event she had organised.
Anne-Mary, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is amazing. I mean, what a turnout. You've had so many of your friends come and turn up to this today.
Yes, all of my classmates are here and the teachers are here.
So can you just explain to me what it is that you're doing here with all your friends?
We started with mangrove planting. Mangroves, they are the real environment heroes. Mangroves also act as a nursery to our small fish and to the marine organisms that we love to eat. Mangroves also act as a coastal a windbreaker for coastal villages, and mangroves also lowers our carbon emissions. We will keep planting mangroves and native trees until we can't plant anymore.
Future generations are set to live in a radically different world because of climate change. It's going to take real commitment from governments across the globe to start reducing CO2 emissions now. One thing is clear. Kids in this Pacific paradise aren't afraid to ask for big changes, and they're doing all they can to fight the forces of climate change themselves.